Welcome everybody to another episode of Wrestling Conversations. Joining us, very special guest, Royce Isaacs. Royce, how you doing today, man?
Hey, no complaints. I also have my little co-pilot here, Gimlet. He's got an ear infection,
Oh no.
so he's battling through that, but he's doing all right. So no, it's a good day. He's got his medication, so everything is getting corrected.
Hey, that's good. I have my dog is sadly not here. I've watched other interviews that you've done. I was kind of hoping that your dog would make an appearance. I'm such a dog guy myself. I have a mini dachshund. So for those who don't know,
Oh, cute.
wiener dog. So she's long hair and she's like bleach blonde. So you don't see too many of those around. So no, please keep your dog around. I think I personally enjoy that. Do you have just the one dog?
Yeah, we just have the one dog, Gimlet. I actually have to keep him around because if I just let him out, like if I'm on the phone for too long or if he just hears me talking, he's like, "Oh, is this talking time?" And he just starts barking at like the neighbors and stuff. So he kind of has to chill on the lap, anyways. But yeah, he's such a little goober. But that's like my outside of wrestling, he's probably my favorite thing in life is having a little fur son.
I know my wife and I have been married for like 4 years now. We don't have any kids. We still stay busy with work and stuff. When we have a dog, and to other people, they really look at us kind of weird. Like, man, you're really obsessed with your dog. But it's like to me, it's like that's like my kid almost. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
definitely.
no, absolutely. 100%.
So I know this weekend you guys are heading up Washington, right?
Yeah, yeah. Usually, Relentless is on the other side of Washington in Spokane, but this time
Yeah.
it is more towards the Seattle side. First time over there, so it should be pretty
Mhm.
cool. West Coast Wrecking Crew versus Sinner and Saint. So, like, I mean, there's a lot of good independent. Actually, I can't even say independent because Sinner and Saint just got signed. But I guess I should say there's a lot of really good tag teams on the West Coast right now.
Mhm.
But at least in my estimation, obviously I have some bias, but I would say those are the two best tag teams. We've wrestled them one other time at Prestige Wrestling in February of this year. So looking to get that win back here.
Absolutely. You guys, I mean, you guys stay busy. You guys are kind of all over the place at this point. Something that really stood out to me was I'm looking forward to that match you've got coming up in August with Josh Alexander. That's one that I'm really looking forward to taking a look at. What can you tell me about Josh? What have your guys' interactions been like in the past?
Josh has always been a really cool guy to me. He was probably one of the first like big name wrestlers that was like really cool and went out of his way to you know give feedback, advice, just be like a nice like real dude. So I have a high level of respect for him, and anyone that's watched Josh Alexander wrestle should have a high level of respect for his work in ring. And I think he's a guy that has a lot of work ethic. He always works really, really hard. He's the walking weapon for a reason. He has a myriad of things that he can do to you. But I feel like it's kind of a good style matchup for me because I'm similar in a lot of ways,
Mhm.
and not just because we're both bald. I think I think that we both have like I have ways to hurt you all around the ring, and we're both pretty inventive with our offense. And he's someone that I've really wanted to wrestle for a while. And wrestling is prize fighting, and so it's like if you do respect someone, I don't think that's an issue to do battle with them. Like I know sometimes it causes like rifts in other sports and whatever, and there are rivalries in wrestling too, and that's great as well. But I do think there's something to be said for getting in there with someone that you really have a lot of respect for, and both laying it all on the line.
Okay. What are your thoughts on like someone like Josh? Or I mean, I as a fan, I really enjoy that aspect where you feel like outside of WWE and even for them, they've started to like loosen up on this. Where you've seen people pop up in Noah or for Bloodsport or something like that too. But what kind of value do you think for these people that are signed places that are still doing independent dates? I mean, you're showing up in New Japan pretty often, and you're coming back and doing lots of other shows as well. What kind of value do you think that provides to the rest of the people that are maybe a little less experienced, haven't had the reps that someone like yourself has had? What value do you think that brings?
Well, I think it's value on both sides because obviously, if I get to work with someone who maybe they haven't gotten a shot at places like New Japan before or NWA or wherever else. Like
Mm-hmm.
they've never been on a product that's like TV or
Mm-hmm.
at least broadcast to a larger audience or wherever I've been. Obviously, I think one of the things that shaped me was getting in there with some really cool people. Like I wrestled Paul London pretty early on in my career, and I remember that being a really formative match. Um, I got to wrestle Arya Davari right before he got signed to his original cruiserweight deal. I think that one helped a lot, and so I do think it's important, like experience wise. Iron sharpens iron, and also you kind of have to in wrestling jump off the deep end and kind of see if you can swim. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're gonna have a few opportunities like that when you're younger in your career and whatnot. And so hopefully all these young cats that I'm beating the crap out of get a lesson or two out of it. And then for me, I still I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of in this transitive stage where I do absolutely understand what you're saying. Where there's a lot of younger people that I've gotten to work with that I think have gotten something out of me. I think someone like a Logan Austin out of Denver, Colorado, is someone that I've had a few matches with, and I think I I guess you'd have to ask him, but I think that he got quite a bit out of that and helped it kind of helped him grow and whatnot. Um, but I also still feel like I'm at a stage where I'm still trying to grow and I'm still trying to get stuff out of my matches. So like when I get to wrestle someone like Josh, who's been to a higher level, like former world champion right there,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's something that I want to test myself out with. That's something that I want to leave the ring. Uh, First of all, with my hand raised, and second of all, having become a better wrestler than I was when I came into it. I think I've had a lot of opportunities for some really cool stuff like that this year. I got to share the ring with Alex Shelley and Jeff Cobb in singles matches, and both of them are very different in style, but both masters of what they do. And sometimes you just have to prove that you can go with these guys, and sometimes you have to see what's in yourself and see if you have another gear and if you can kick it up another notch and learn a little bit.
For sure. And I was going to ask you too about, you mentioned being kind of in a time of like transition and things like that. I absolutely hate in interviews when people say, oh, like, where do you want to go next? It's like, well, first of all, that'd be the worst business decision ever. Like, oh, I don't want to go here or would like to go here. It's like, well, first of all, you want the surprise spoiled, and also, you want to keep your options open. So I'm not going to ask you that question. What I would like to ask is if you were to, shake some things up, go to some new places, not asking for where you would like to go, but what would you be looking for where whoever it would be that made you an offer? What are the things that are most kind of important to you at this point in your career?
I'm 35, so I think I'm to the point where, at the end of the day, I don't think money is everything because I think it's really important that you find a place where you can thrive and the right fit and a good locker room and everything like that. But I am definitely ready to graduate from just in indie, top indie payouts and such. Like I would like to, have some kind of a salary where this will pay all my bills if I don't do a single other thing this month, and that's all taken care of. I just want to. I've never really wanted to be like a rich guy. I don't think that if you get into wrestling to be rich, you're kind of stupid. Like, because it's not like a get rich quick scheme. There's very few people that really make generational wealth off of wrestling. But
Mm-hmm.
what I do is I really do love wrestling. I love the act of wrestling, and I'd like to be able to just little things like, hey, no stress on the bills, they're taken care of. Being able to actually like train and do more recovery stuff. Like I think I'm to the point where I would just like to be able to, like, if I have to get cryotherapy or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, cool. I don't have to worry about, do I have the money for that? Whatever. Boom. Let's go get that taken care of. Oh, I got to go see a physical therapist. Not a problem or whatever. Oh, cool. I can look into, I go to uh, a grappling school, highest on MMA. And it's like, oh, cool. I can sign up for another extra few 5-10 classes a month or whatever. Or I can get some
Mm-hmm.
private sessions, whatnot, like stuff like that. I really just want to have the freedom to train more, do more recovery kind of stuff. I'd like to get at some point a place with a yard for my dog because we got a 1 bedroom apartment. It's got like some nice amenities, and he goes on a lot of walks and whatnot. But like I'm simple. I just need enough money for my own food. I just want him to have something that he can enjoy a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I'm in a similar spot where I just bought. I mentioned to you when we were off here. I just moved. My wife and I just bought our first house, and we don't have a huge yard, but it's got a fence. It's about a third of an acre, so it's not anything gigantic, but it's big enough for us. And I tell people, and they think I'm crazy. Like, oh yeah, 90% of the reason that I moved was for my dog, so she could have a yard. So I totally get it. But no, I love that answer too. I know that like fans of anything, I think especially wrestling fans too, for some reason they have a problem sometimes with that answer of like it being about being, financially taken care of. And like you said, that's not the only factor, but it's kind of like if you went into any job and it's like, wouldn't that be a priority? So I always love that answer when people say that, because it's like, that is the truth. And if someone says, hey, that's not a factor, I just don't really buy it so much, because we all need to live and we all need to take care of ourselves. And I think if you have that structure, like you said, to take care of yourself, that's a pretty huge thing in my book for sure.
Yeah, I mean, not to stroke my own ego too much, but I think that I'm pretty multifaceted in terms of the things that I've shown I can do.
Mhm.
Style wise, I can kind of adapt to whatever. And so it's like I'm not super worried about if I went to like a WWE and I had to work a very TV friendly style.
Mhm.
I don't think I'd have a problem with that. I spent basically the first 6 years of my career working for mostly, if not TV places that had some kind of local TV or some
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
TV style of taping. I'm used to that kind of thing. And also, I think WWE style is much more like an indie style anymore. And I mean that as a compliment. I don't mean that as like
Mhm.
some kind of a diss or anything like that. I just think they have
Mhm.
a higher work rate than like if you watched something from the '90s, which
Mhm.
sometimes I like watching those kind of kick, punch,
Sure.
shoot off the ropes, hit a move, brawl more. But I do think I think wrestling is a little bit more homogenized across all the groups. But then if you look at a place like New Japan, I really appreciate how they present wrestling. I really like the freedom that they give people there. I've loved working for there. And I've always had a big admiration
Mhm.
for New Japan, even before I worked there. I think there's advantages everywhere. I think if you look at AEW, there's a lot of great stuff that they're doing, and I think some of the financial freedom they're giving some of their wrestlers is
Yeah.
really great. Some of the stuff
Mhm.
that Tony does for his people is like really, really cool stuff. That it's like, oh, wow, that's wonderful that you'd have that kind of protection as a
Mhm.
wrestler and whatnot. And TNA's doing some really cool stuff right now too. So it's like I could see myself fitting in any of these places. I don't think it would be a problem. So to me, it's more like finding a place that likes what I do and that I like what they do, and we can work together in some kind of a relationship. I, I'm not too particular. I do think I can kind of fit in wherever, really.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like yeah, like you said, I think you've kind of shown that with who you've worked with, the places you've gone, whether it is in New Japan or if it is, Lucha Libre and Laughs. Where I got to talk to you about that too, because that's something that is
Yeah.
somewhat new to me. And I was like, I watched a few matches and I was like, wow, this place is great. I mean, that. So anyway, I was going to ask you about that too. But yeah, I totally agree. I think that there's a lot of places that are doing good things, and I hope if that's what you want, hope that's the next step for you for sure.
I mean, look, I've held a championship in DDT Pro Wrestling, which is some of the craziest
Yeah.
comedy wrestling in the world.
Mhm.
I've held a championship in NWA, which is old school serious wrestling, and soon, one of these days, soon, going to hold a gold in New Japan, and that's King of Sport, strong style.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I can adapt to whatever. I do really love the stuff that I've been doing lately, and I don't know, I've been retooling things a little bit, and I think people are going to be really happy with Royce Isaacs here in 2024 going into 2025.
So you mentioned New Japan. So did you grow up being a fan of Japanese wrestling, or did that kind of come a little bit later for you?
I was a huge fan of Japanese culture, I wasn't aware of the wrestling scene probably until I was a young adult, like late college. Um, I think I fell out with wrestling for a few years, like maybe early high school at some point. I kind of stopped paying as much attention, and then middle of college somewhere in there, I started getting back into wrestling. I think like Dolph Ziggler was like a guy that I was like, oh, this guy
Mm-hmm.
rules, and started really getting me back into watching
Yep.
wrestling. And then shortly after that, it was like, oh, there's like independent wrestling, and there's like, what is this Ring of Honor thing? And then from there, it kind of branched off of like, every once in a while they'd bring over some really cool people from Japan, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, so obviously they have it over there, and that's when I started really seeking that out. And I had some friends that put me on to people like Katsuyori Shibata that it was like, oh man, this guy is a phenomenal wrestler. And then as soon as I saw Japanese wrestling and especially New Japan, it was like, okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I get why they call it King of Sport. This is where it's at.
Yeah, for sure. I think I probably didn't start watching New Japan. It's probably been 10 years, but still, it's such a departure from like if someone had just watched WWE. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm not someone that bashes on that too, but it's just nice to have options, and especially at that time, too, things were starting to change for them even. But when I first saw it, it was like, yeah, such a different style that's like you just didn't see in other places. So that was super cool. I think too, if Shibata was one of your guys, I mean, it's such a crazy time that that match might be possible. I mean, he's been pretty active in the last couple of years here, where we thought that was not an option. Was that something that is on a bucket list for you?
Yeah, absolutely. My probably two dream matches that I've had for my whole career have been Shibata and Dolph Ziggler, and I honestly didn't think either one of them was going to be remotely possible.
Yeah.
But in the year 2024 that we're living in right now, both of those are very possible to happen. So I'll keep my fingers crossed. I'll keep my head down, keep working hard, and see what happens. But those are two matches that I'm absolutely gunning for, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are humanly possible, and both of them, for one reason or another, really didn't seem like that even just a few years ago.
Yeah, no, I'd really enjoy that we're in a time where people are quote unquote changing sides, and there's fresh matchups and companies are working together. It's just an exciting time where stuff like, yeah, I never thought this would be possible, and there you go, and
Yeah, I
it's
mean, we literally
energetic.
just got AJ Styles versus Marufuji. It's like, who would have guessed that would even be a possibility ever, kind of thing. But it's like, yeah, of course I want to see that. Of course that's a match that needs to happen.
Yeah, I love that we're in a time too that, I mean, with how people are taking like better care of themselves, like both of those guys are well into their 40s, and just like look at that match that they just had. It's just um, to me that is so cool. Like before, it's like, yeah, you'd have some of the top guys be in their in their 40s and stuff, but now it's just like that's not even a factor. If you're 42, oh, that's great. That's like you're at your peak basically. So that's great.
Yeah, yeah. AJ Styles is in the best shape of his life.
Yeah, and he's what, 46 or 47, something like that.
It's crazy. That guy is such a freaking master. Man, what a phenomenal indeed.
Yeah, he lives up to the name, that is for sure.
Yeah.
So going back to Japan, that's somewhere that I would like to go. You said that you had an interest in Japanese culture kind of early on. Was the first time that you went to Japan, was that for wrestling, or did you make it over there before that?
Yeah, the first time I went over was 2016 for DDT.
Okay, okay. What were your thoughts? I mean, everyone describes, oh, there's a little bit of a culture shock, but everybody loves it there, basically. What was your kind of first experience like going to Japan?
It was a dream come true. It was definitely a whirlwind because it was a 1 week tournament for it was called like the DNA Grand Prix. A lot of the guys that are like top guys there at DDT now were in it. Like I wrestled Higuchi.
Hmm.
Mike Bailey was in the other. There was two blocks. He was in the other block from me. Yuki Ueno was in it as well. A few other people that are really high up in DDT now, but we were all kind of young boys at that point. And so I went out there for, I don't know, it was like only like 7 or 8 days maybe or something like that. Like it was basically like a week, which especially when you're doing a 12-hour flight or whatever, that's pretty quick to
Yeah.
only spend a week there.
Yeah.
But it was like I got in, started wrestling the next day, wrestled every day, and then I think I went out with the boys the last night, and then that next morning, hungover as hell, flew back to the U.S. But even though I didn't have the most time to explore on that first trip, it was still like I got enough exploration and seeing around and new experiences, and um, I do think that I had a really good like experience working some of those guys, even that young into my career. Just like I think it really brought my experience and like that little bit of extra seasoning of okay, can you work with someone when you guys don't even know how to communicate and whatnot. But I was Japan's amazing. I love that trip, and I definitely I always love being there. But that was a really special trip being over there my first time. It really seemed like I don't know some kind of what's the Wizard of Oz type of thing or something, you know?
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's one of the places I got to get to just to enjoy the country too. It's just there cannot be a more polar opposite place than the U.S. And I love the U.S. too, but it's just one of those things that it's just would be cool to experience. So you were on the some of the strong tapings post COVID, those things there too, and then they kind of moved away from that format. Of like the weekly shows and are doing pay-per-views once a month, every other month, something like that. And again, not asking you to spoil anything if there's something that hasn't been announced, but do you have thoughts on like the return to that weekly format? If there's any update on that, maybe there's something that's been announced that I haven't heard, but any news on that?
I know Rocky tweeted something a while back about wanting to go back to that format or
Okay.
something. Something, if I remember correctly. Maybe that was a wishful thinking, a dream or something. Maybe I just hallucinated that and was hoping. But it'd be really cool if we did because I do think Strong had something really special in terms of like the weekly content. And I think it's great that obviously we're still doing the shows in the U.S. and
Yeah.
then they're a little bit of different format with the iPay-per-views, and then they release them a few at a time and whatnot
Mm-hmm.
on the app.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there was something really cool about Strong and like the locker room we had. We had a really great group of people,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think it allows for a little bit more storytelling when you have that weekly format versus
Mm-hmm.
one big pay-per-view. And don't get me wrong, all these pay-per-views have been bananas cards. Like it's been stacked top to bottom. I do think weekly storytelling would be helpful to connect with a U.S. audience, and I do miss that. And I do miss having, selfishly, I miss having tapings a little bit more often,
Yeah.
obviously as well. So I don't know if it'll ever come back because I also understand that it's more expensive to run more shows,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I get it, but I hope so. I hope that it does come back at some point like that.
Yeah, for sure. That was me during the during COVID times where it's like things were moving a little slower. I had much more time, and Strong was such a kind of breath of fresh air for me. Where that I looked forward to that every week and see some people, see some new people, and I think you're right. I think for the U.S. audience, like I think that we're just so conditioned to have that weekly format, and you can still have that flavor of New Japan with a little bit of that mixed in just to help people kind of adjust. But no, I would agree. I would love to see that back too, for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was still New Japan style where the
yeah,
storytelling is being done in the ring,
yeah.
99% of the time. And
Mhm.
I just think it had a little bit of that American flavor and a little bit of that American storytelling and a little bit more that you can follow along with versus super cards with big matches and whatnot.
For sure. I was going to ask you. This came up earlier, but I wanted to make note of this too. So, I did not. I had really little knowledge of Lucha Libre and Laughs, and I started kind of watching it a little while back, like here and there on YouTube, and um, I'll be checking out more of that. Obviously, I wish I lived closer to Denver to be able to make that happen. But some of those shows, the crowds were insane. I've seen some of your stuff from there with like Brian Keith or Minoru Suzuki, which I think people forget about that one before the Bloodsport match obviously happened. So, tell for the people that have never heard of this, like that was me, just pretty recently where I discovered it. Explain Lucha Libre and Laughs for the people that are not aware.
So I'm glad you brought this up. Lucha Libre and Laughs is like Denver, Colorado's best hidden gem indie. It's low key. You could throw up a lot of their cards with any other indie in the U.S. right now. They have an insane crowd, like the best crowd that I've ever. I'm obviously biased because I'm a Denver boy, and so they love me. Like I'm like the hometown hero kind of thing or whatever. But like they're just so there and ready to party and go crazy for everything. Mm-hmm. They have a bunch of stuff on YouTube. They also have started putting their events on IWTV. So anyone that has that, definitely check them out on there. I don't know if this will, whenever my match with Alex Shelley airs, I'm not sure if this part will go in because I think they're editing out the copyrighted music. But like literally, I have 600 people. I come out to Coolio Gangster's Paradise, and they cut the music at the "Why Are We So Blind to See That the Ones We Heard Are You or Me," and the crowd everyone just sang it right to me. I was like, "This is like the coolest. I'll never have this happen again." Like, holy crap! So they're great. They have for the live show, they have stand up in between matches. I don't think that usually they don't throw the sets up on stage because obviously comedians are weird about getting their stuff filmed because they want to be able to put out specials and whatnot and whatever. But it's just like, I think an underrated part of watching wrestling that people don't really think about or talk about enough is when you have a really, really hot crowd, it makes everything that much more enjoyable to watch. I've had great matches in front of crowds that for whatever reason, you're an hour 4 of the show and they're just sitting on their hands a little bit or whatever. And it definitely brings things down. And I've definitely had matches where I'm like, that wasn't that good, but they sure ate up every second of it and made things a lot better, made things easier and whatnot. So I think it's a really enjoyable experience to watch some Lucha Libre and Laugh. So if you are out there and you've never checked it out, check them out on YouTube. If you have IWTV, check them out because, every card is a sellout pretty much. I think they've sold out every show for the past like year and a half now or something crazy like that. It's like 500-600 people. It's in this old theater in Denver. And if you live in the Denver area, I recommend going because it's like a really, really cool date night. Just make sure you get your tickets early because it'll sell out. But like, it's like a cool, like, don't get me wrong, there's like the hardcore, you'll see the Bullet Club shirts in the crowd and all that kind of stuff. But like, also you'll just see a bunch of young, cool kids out there having some drinks and enjoying wrestling, but they get it. The commentary is actually amazing. Usually I really hate house commentary, like over a microphone. It's like, let me tell the story. Let me show what's going on. But the commentators, are really good at commentary. Like they're actually genuinely very good at commentary and adding to the matches. And they're professional comedians that are hilarious. And they'll just there's times in the ring where I'm like, I can't laugh right now. I got to hold it together. But they're cracking on me or they're making fun of something or whatever. And it's really good. So, I can't sing the praises of Lucha Libre and Laughs enough. Definitely check it out.
I feel like it would be a great spot if you had someone that, like, whether no one's a wrestling fan or you got one wrestling fan in the group and you took somebody to a live show. It's like, I feel like there's no way that they would not have a good time with that. It's just a bunch of people that are super into it. And so I feel like that'd be a great thing.
Lucha Libre and Laughs is one of the best. Like I've had so many people go to the shows that have not been wrestling fans or have never been to a wrestling show. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to every show, or they start actually, I'm going to watch, WWE or AEW now on the weekly because of this now. Like they get into wrestling. So it's a great show for that. It's very accessible to that, to a non-wrestling fans.
Sure. Yeah, I would love to get down there for a show. My sister used to live in Colorado Springs. She was there for grad school. So I've been through Denver and stuff, but it's been a while. I don't have any excuse to get down there, but hopefully one of these days I will come up with that excuse to get there because those shows were great. And you said that they were selling out at, you say 600?
Yeah, it's like 500 or 600 people or
Okay,
something like that. This
that's a good
theater,
crowd.
it's a great crowd. I would put it up there with any of the great crowds, and there are some great crowds. So I don't let me get myself buried elsewhere. But when I say like a great super indie crowd, I think the people out there know what I mean in terms of just like those crowds that you're like, hell yeah, like they're not there just to like chant for themselves or get themselves over as a thing, but they're adding to the match. They're making everyone work hard, and everyone's really happy at the end of the night, both in the crowd and the wrestlers.
For sure. Okay. Well, before I let you go, I always, this is probably like the worst wrestling podcast ever because half the time I talk about things that are not wrestling, but I kind of like to mix some of that stuff in. But what are some of the things that you like to do? Like, obviously, wrestling is probably for you hobby and job. What are some things that you do that are strictly just hobbies for you?
I don't know, man. I'm spending so much time at the gym and all this stuff that like technically is like a part of me. Like you know what I mean? It's like if I'm going and rolling jujitsu, that's kind of like helping with my wrestling. So I don't know if that's just like I feel like watching like stupid YouTube documentaries is like the only hobby I have left that's not in some way related to wrestling.
Hmm.
Because other than that, I'm just like later tonight I'll probably I'm gonna make some. I do actually I guess cooking. I would burn cereal before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, I taught myself how to cook. And I don't think I'm Emeril Lagasse or whatever the cool new chef, so I don't sound so old is or whatever. But I've gotten pretty good at making some good food. I'm gonna make some. It's like a chili lime chicken thighs. It's a new recipe that I'm trying out later tonight. Should be pretty good. But yeah, I cook a lot. I watch stupid YouTube documentaries on rap beefs and stuff like that. And other than that, man, I'm focused on wrestling. I love going to the gym and working out, and I love uh, jujitsu rolling and stuff like that. But that's also like helping me get better at the job and whatnot. And
Yeah.
other than that, maybe catching some sun and trying to work on my tan and going for swims and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I'm focused. I live a boring life. It's like wrestling's the most exciting thing that I do. Other than that, I'm a boring dude. But I do try to like I don't know. I think to try to be averse from being a meathead. I do like to engage in I don't know something deeper than surface level conversations with my friends and my girlfriend and of course with my dog. No, I think challenging yourself, stimulating yourself mentally is really important and trying to stay sharp and whatnot. So I don't know, man. That was a really disjointed answer, but
Hey,
there you
no,
go.
you're good. I mean, I'm kind of thinking to myself, okay, um, someone asked me my hobbies. They're all like it's all like weird stuff. I like the mainstream stuff like sports and whatever else, but
Sure.
I'm thinking I'm like, man, I have too many. I don't have kids. I don't have that many responsibilities. I have a job, got a dog, got a house, have a wife. That's about it. That takes up plenty of time. But I'm like, maybe if I cut down on a few of my hobbies, maybe I'll start to look more like you. Maybe this is why I'm not making it in the gym so much. I have too many other things going on, which is not an excuse, but no, that's awesome, man. So, last question. This sparked because I had Rob Wilkins from Fightful on. He was my last interview, and I haven't watched it yet. I just discovered that these existed, and I sent him a message the other day, like, oh, like when are you doing more like the movie club interview? So I saw that he had you on for Training Day. I didn't watch it because I've never seen that movie. Um, do you have a favorite movie or TV show? And maybe it is that one. Maybe it is Training Day, but
Oh, training day is like for sure in my like Mount Rushmore like top four. I don't know if it's my number one. Oh gosh, I feel like I should have these all like mapped out already in my head. But every time I get asked, I'm like, wait a second, what do I like the most? Training Day is up there. Old Boy, the original version's up there. American Psycho is definitely up there for me.
mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm forgetting like whatever the fourth would be, but yeah, those are good three. And then like for shows, probably like The Wire and Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul
Yeah.
off the top of my head. are all like phenomenal.
Can't go wrong with any of those. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm just making my way back through The Sinner right now, which is also a really good series with Bill Pullman as like an old detective figuring out these weird cases. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's very enjoyable. I wouldn't put it in like my top whatever, but it's very enjoyable, and that's like the current show that I have going on. And the mindless show that just is like, okay, well, I can pop this on and enjoy it or whatever is Supernatural.
Never seen Supernatural. That's one that it's like on my list at some point. I never get to it, but it's like, oh, I should try that sometime because I've had some friends that are into it and stuff, but I've never tried Supernatural.
It's so it's like a good. I enjoy it a lot. I like the main actors in it quite a bit, and there's certain things where you're like, okay, this is like not like maybe there's like a little plot hole here and there or whatever, but it's like legitimately spooky. I think it's well done. It's to me, it's like character driven because I feel like the dialogue and the banter between the people is really good, and I do like spooky stuff as well. But it's like a good mindless. It's like similar to like a Criminal Minds, where it's like you could just like throw it on, and it's like, all right, if I like fall asleep, not a huge deal or whatever, but also it's going to be very enjoyable and easily digestible for the whole time. So it's like one of those good ones, which is an important slot. The pre-bed,
Yep.
mindless killing time, but being enjoyable slot is a very underrated slot because everyone wants just to watch good shows, but like you don't want to watch Breaking Bad right before bed. That's a terrible slot for
No.
that, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like there are some shows if I'm watching it for the first time that's like, okay, I really got to pay attention. And I think so this sounds so stupid, but it's like there's sometimes I'm like I feel too tired to watch TV too intently. It's just that you have to have that thing. 100% agree. I think The Office is that for me. I have some that are not comedies. The Office is one that I've watched probably 8 times through just because I throw it on and it's great because you don't have to go in order. They're somewhat self-contained with a few overarching like threads that are a couple of plot threads throughout, but really you could throw on just about any episode and get a couple laughs. You don't really have to pay attention. It's just some good fun. I agree.
Yeah.
100%. Well, I will. I want to let you go and be respectful of your time. But before we get out of here, please let everybody that's listening know where they can find you online, how they can support you, any dates that you've got coming up.
Yeah. At Royce Isaacs on Twitter, at Royce Isaacs on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel where I upload some of my matches from time to time, so feel free to check that out if you're new to me, if you haven't seen me before. I have plenty of stuff on IWTV and Fight/Triller. So honestly, if you enjoyed this, or if you didn't, I don't know why you're still listening, but if you did enjoy this, I recommend just check out a match if you haven't before. If you want to support, I do have a pro wrestling tees. If not, catch me in person. I always have different merch in person. Working on getting some new shirts, actually, both a tag shirt and a singles shirt. So I should have that soon. And I don't know when it's dropping, but it actually might be soon. We'll see. I don't know if I'm giving away too much. I have a pretty big match announcement coming up here pretty soon. I'm not sure exactly when it's happening, so I can't give too much away. But it'll be out here. It'll be something cool in the next little bit. So hopefully that's cryptic enough for people.
Hey, there we go. Hey, everyone loves a good tease, right? All right, Royce. I guess so. I guess that's what people tell me anyway. But all right, Royce, thanks again so much for taking the time today, and best of luck this weekend.
All right. I'll see you later. Thank you for having me on, and Gimlet says goodbye.
Oh, such a cute dog. That's such a cute dog. I can't get another dog, Royce. You can't keep showing me. But actually, next summer. Hey, you're good. I don't care at all. All right. Cool. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Thanks. Take it easy, brother.